Welcome back to Technology Behind Business. Well, the online world is often blamed for stealing customers away from traditional retailers. But could technology actually help drive customers back in store? Red Touch Media is betting that it can, and they're rolling out a series of kiosks for retailers that allow consumers to download digital content. So how do these work, and just who is going to use them? Well, Wayne Scholes, the CEO of Red Touch Media, joins us now from our Melbourne studios. Wayne, good to see you there. I'm really interested in this particular concept, especially this idea of downloading from kiosks. Can you take us through how that works first?
Yeah, so look, I think the concept really is that this is about making life easier for the consumer, about giving more options to the consumer. As you mentioned, look, the online world has definitely changed the way consumers behave, certainly with content. So when it comes to music, movies, TV, books, anything to do with digital content, and consumers have changed their behavior. One of the things that's obviously had an effect on is the retail market. It's suffered a little bit from the sales. You've seen high street stores that all of us thought would stay around forever, that have disappeared. And one of the things that Red Touch Media is able to do is try and find a sort of bridge for that gap where consumers still shop in the high street. They still go out. It's not like they lock themselves in their bedrooms and say, I'm only buying from here, I'm not going anywhere else. They still want that opportunity to connect with retailers. And what Red Touch Media does is bridge that gap and say, look, we can offer a retailer an opportunity to connect with customers with their content desires. So whether they want music, movies, TVs, books, whatever it is, we can give them an opportunity to purchase it in the way they want it, where they want it, and when they want it. And that could be through a retail kiosk, so walking into a store and downloading content, downloading your favorite TV show, your favorite movie in the store right there to your digital device. And that could be to your phone or a flash drive or to your SD card, whatever it needs to be, and downloading it immediately right there. Or it could be that you want to connect with the customer at home, and so that you use a white label website that we provide that can be rebranded very simply for the retailers, so that it's all their brand and all their connection with their own customers. Or it could be through a multiple layer of apps. And one of the things that Red Touch Media has taken as a decision early on was that we really only focus on the way the consumer behaves rather than the way perhaps the entertainment industry has behaved at the start by trying to drive consumers into particular devices. We operate on a technology agnostic basis. We are happy to provide our content, TV shows and movies, etc., to consumers on any device they want it on. So whether that's an Android device.
I'll come back to devices in a minute, Wayne, but I want to talk about the kiosks first, because are you telling me seriously that customers will want to go to a kiosk to download a movie on their device when they can do it from the comfort of their homes today, or even do it from their device itself? Surely the first rule in marketing is it's got to be easy for customers, and that's what they'll go to. Why would they go to a kiosk?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting point, and there is definitely an element of ease in this, and I think that's perhaps the part that is missing in the consumer's life, is that it feels like they haven't really been given an option to stay with their retail partners. And a lot of this is driven much more by behaviour of how consumers deal with their loyalty programs these days. We tend to look at movies and TV shows and digital content as more of a commodity. Retailers are much more integrated with loyalty programs these days and like to offer rewards to their customers and say, well, look, if you're spending your time and money in our stores, we'd like to reward you. Oftentimes, the rewards that they can offer just aren't necessarily relevant to the customer. Being able to offer their favourite TV shows or their favourite movies is a much more relevant way of doing that. And if they're in the store, I think consumers are actually a lot more sophisticated than we give them credit for. They don't need to just hide at home and download stuff. And the truth of it is, look, with internet connections being what they are, it isn't quite what we all thought it was going to be, and they're not as fast as they should be. You can go into a store and download from one of our kiosks and download a full 1 gig movie in less than a minute. That definitely has an impact on the smart customer who says, I don't have time to wait 45 minutes at home or on my phone and hope the connection stays to get content. So
but the whole point of downloading, Wayne, is that I can do it in a comfortable way from my home or from my bedroom or from my lounge room, rather than going out to a store to do that. One thing I do like about this, and you've talked about it in other places, is the fact that we often have a Samsung tablet and an Apple Mac computer and a different brand TV, and we're kind of locked into these ecosystems that the manufacturers try and lock us into. It's a deliberate strategy, but using your content, you can actually play it on a variety of devices.
Yeah, look, I don't think we should get sidetracked on the kiosk thing. The kiosk thing for us is really about saying it's about giving the choice to the customer. Because we recognise that, look, I download content at home, and sometimes I download it on my laptop, and sometimes I download it on a train or on sometimes I'm doing it on a plane. But wherever I am, I want the content when I want it and how I want it. And if it is that I want it in a retail environment, well, then that's where I want it. The key for us is responding to the fact that consumers live a different life than we perhaps think they do. You know, I mean, I always use the example of my house because we're fairly typical, I think, of a household with multiple devices. My wife is an Apple user, loves her iOS devices, and sticks with those without fail. I happen to like my Windows phone, but I also use my Apple, my iPad to watch movies on. My children really like their Android devices. So, you know, as a household, it seems strange to me that we force consumers to stick with these very rigid guidelines that were given by the industry that says, well, you can only have that content you bought on one device. The Red Touch Media solution is, look, you're the consumer, you paid for that content, you can put it on as many of those devices as is legally allowable, and that can be up to 7 or 8 different devices.
Okay, Wayne, we do have to leave it there. I take your point on that. Absolutely not convinced on those kiosks, but I could be wrong. Well, and you're going to launch them here in Australia, so we will see how they go. Wayne, thanks for your time today.